What's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles, welcoming you to another edition of Lyles Figure Files. Today, the Hasbro Marvel Legends team had a new live stream, and we got a bunch of new product. Not much that I was excited about, which I feel has been the common thread for all the Marvel Legends reveals in 2022. Now, this has been my favorite line for so many years, and I'm kind of at the point where this is just all right, you guys have to get a pass because 2022 is not your year. There have been some good figures that have come out from Hasbro with the Marvel Legends brand this year, but I feel like they're getting lapped by JoJo Classified series. And as I see more reveals from Transformers, I'm kind of more excited about those. Some of that is because it's the Spider-Man 60th anniversary year, and I think if any collector is kind of honest to a widespread Marvel, not just Spider-Man collector, you feel like, hey man, I've got a pretty decent Spider-Man shelf. For me, I've got one full shelf of the Spider-Man and the various variants and Spider-Verse display. Then I've got my classic villain shelf, and in there I've got packed and crammed the modern ones. If I really wanted to, I could create 3 shelves of Spider-Man characters all on their own. And when you look at some of the other sectors of the Marvel Universe, they're not nearly as well represented. Got a Fantastic Four. Maybe you could do that with the Avengers if you start throwing in the Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man villains all on that shelf. But for the most part, there's a lot of gaps. And I keep waiting for some of those other teams, other sectors to get a little bit more love. And we've got the 60th anniversary of Spider-Man going right now, and that kind of complicates things because it feels like every year is an anniversary year for Spider-Man. We have Spider-Man No Way Home, and that's one of the biggest films ever, so I get it, they want to do that. So you combine those two things, that means there's a lot of Spider-Man product coming out on the shelves in the works. And then we've got all of the MCU content. It's like 3 or 4 movies a year, 6 TV shows. It's a lot of figures in that MCU bubble that's taking up valuable comic book wave assortments in space on shelves. And I get it. Hasbro has to pull this juggling act where everybody's watching these movies and TV shows. There's a limited amount of people who are buying these comic book based looks. And that's fine because it's just comic books or whatever state they're in right now. And I can't defend them to any large degree. But I kind of wish there was just a better allocation for how these comic book figures, these waves get put out. I'd love to stop seeing an X-Men theme wave or an Avengers theme wave. I like the days of long ago where we could just get random characters in each wave. And there's some loose connection, some loose affiliation. Because at this point, I feel like they've gotten so many of the heavy hitters knocked out that we don't need to have a Captain America theme wave. We can just do an Avenger, a Thunderbolt, an X-Force member, an X-Factor member, X-Men, Fantastic Four. Keep going around. We just keep doing that. I think that would allow us, with our ever-increasing Marvel Legends figures, to get that universe fleshed out a little bit better instead of just kind of sticking to the main guns. So for today's live stream, I was kind of like, all right, I didn't have high expectations. Dan and part of the marketing team said, calm it down, guys. Don't get too excited. Don't get too hyped up so you won't be disappointed. And I appreciate Dan because I keep my expectations down here now. And for the most part, I'm not that disappointed. So the first half, we got a recap of everything. In some cases, figures that are actually on shelves right now, including the Black Panther Vintage Collection Wave. Then we got a recap of the Black Panther movie figures coming, Wakanda Forever. We got an improved Okoye. I noticed that she still doesn't seem to have bicep articulation. She's got double jointed elbows, which is an improvement. A much stronger likeness to her appearance in the movie. Then we've got that Nakia, which looks great. I think she's going to be an awesome figure. Submariner Namor looks great. Atuma also is a worthy builder figure. This is a good wave of figures, and I think this could be one of the strongest MCU ones we've gotten from Hasbro this year. So then we've got some more. We got the full details of that Razorback, the Human Fly. They're going to be part of a box set, and they're also coming with Molten Man. And this is one of those cases where Dwight's wearing a shirt that says "Wrong Costume," Hasbro Pulse. It's kind of like a joke at all the collectors, making fun or like ragging on the Marvel Legends team for botching character outfit choices. But I feel like you got a character like Molten Man, and he's pretty much always been portrayed as this broad, big, well-defined dude, kind of sort of like Venom, kind of like buff. To use a Johnny Storm Sunfire mold seems wrong, and I know, hey, we can just put those flame ports and we can use those hands and that works just fine. But I feel like too often Hasbro's Marvel Legends team is looking for the easy way out to execute these figures as opposed to the best possible option. And Molten Man should not look slender or thin. His whole deal is he's like a molten dude who's kind of built like a brick tank. And I feel like that's not what we got with this character, or this figure at least. And I like the head sculpt. I wish they could have done a little bit more, maybe put some black wash in there to get that comic book look to him. It looks really plain. It doesn't look like his tights have any of that scaling that I've seen in several comic books. I also wish they had gone with the bare feet look. I know he wears boots occasionally, or depending on the artist, but I think the barefoot look works better for him. So we got him, and he's a little bit underwhelming. So then next up we get Silvermane. And Silvermane is basically a rehash of the Marvel Legends Infinite Series 3-pack that had the Hulk, Professor Hulk sorta, kind of, the White Vision that was okay, and then the Ultron that wasn't based on pretty much any Ultron we'd seen. So Silvermane is using that Ultron mold, and that's kind of old, and I know there's some new parts to him, but I couldn't be bothered to look through and see, oh yeah, the forearm's different. The base body is from way back 2015, 2016 era. I just kind of feel like you guys could do better. Silvermane, I'm sure, will cost up to be the equivalent of $25. So it's not like there's this great deal for us with them reusing an old body. It's, hey, we got this mold, let's use it. And I hate that mindset as well, because for these box sets we should get a value. I always mention that Riot, Agony, Venom 3-pack, tremendous deal. There's no other way to look at it. Even if you're the most ardent Marvel Legends basher, that set was a good value, good price, and that's how they should be going forward. Don't know the price point of this pack yet, but I gotta assume that it won't be as great a value. So then the last figure in this set is Ultimate Spider-Man in black. And I'm kind of like, who asked for this figure? And this is such a weird choice because there's so many different Spider-Man variants they could have gone with, thrown in here. Ultimate Spider-Man in black seems like such a random choice, especially when you have all these classic Spider-Man villains, and you throw in the Ultimate Universe Spider-Man, and he doesn't come with a swappable head, at least from what we've seen, to have that young Peter Parker sculpt from the Ultimate Spider-Man body in here. It's just kind of like, hey, this figure just so happened to be free. We had enough parts, and we just wanted to throw this in here too. And it would be okay if maybe they were like, hey, we've retooled it, he's pinless joints and everything's great, but it's just the same body that we've seen before. So this feels like a really weak set. Razorback, Human Fly look really good. They're sculpting top notch. Molten Man should be on a bigger, buffer body. I'd love to see him with bare feet. Silvermane is probably something a lot of collectors who bought that 3-pack with Ultron, Hulk, and Vision have already done. They took the head off the RC Silvermane, plopped it onto there, and hey, I've got my Silvermane. And to see that Hasbro really didn't do a whole lot more with that is very disappointing. But we'll see what that price point is, and I guess that's going to be the real determinant for me if it's a awful set or a set that I'm going to try to track down when it hits clearance. So that's the comic book portion of this program, which is a little disappointing because I just want to see more stuff. Yeah, just to finish off some of the teams. And so we get the next reveal, the final reveal of the latest Disney Plus series. There's a hodgepodge of characters. I like that approach, even though it kind of feels weird that Ryan goes, hey, we want to do all these characters, and I know you guys are waiting for some characters from WandaVision. And I guess he's hinting at Agatha. And he goes, but we need to do these other characters, and we find out about them late. And I'm kind of like, well, if you do Agatha, who's around the very first Disney Plus series, you shouldn't be skipping ahead to Moon Knight characters. Anyhow, so this wave also has that tinge of, could you put more effort into it? Got a Red Skull, and this is from the Captain Carter What If episode. There's not a whole lot of, this figure isn't really unique. It's kind of like, okay, there was an exclusive using that trench coat mold. It's got the classic head sculpt, and it's like, okay, that's a figure, I guess, but it really lacks great articulation. The trench coat, of course, restricts so much of the leg and hip articulation. You're not gonna be able to do too much with them. And then we got He Who Remains. We got classic old Loki. We've got Howard the Duck with Ant-Man head, or Scott Lang head. I'm still baffled at the thought of this figure costing $25. Then we've got some new additions to the zombie universe. We've got Zombie Iron Man. And that figure looks pretty decent. You know, they couldn't go but so long without including Iron Man in the zombie series. And we got Scarlet Witch zombie version. This figure looks like it is going to be the most impossible figure to keep standing unless you use a stand, blue tack, glue, whatever. I feel so bad for everybody who's going to get this figure and is woken up at 3 a.m. from the sound of her toppling over with her massive sprawling head and taking out half the collection. So be prepared when you get this figure. Make sure you have her secure, locked down, restrained on your shelf so she doesn't topple everyone. So I guess that's cool to get some more zombies. I kind of would love to have seen some more humans to go against the zombies, but I like that they're actually taking care of that. And then the Build-A-Figure. Sorry, before I get to the Build-A-Figure, actual cool figure, kind of neat. Agent Jimmy Woo. Nice to see him. He's been in all the Ant-Man films. He's also in WandaVision. So again, it's kind of weird that they're going, we can't do these characters from WandaVision and show another one from WandaVision. I guess we're going to get Darcy at some point, Monica, before we get Agatha, who has her own TV show coming. Maybe that's what they're waiting on. Possibly, I don't know. But the Disney Plus character selection's kind of weird. The Build-A-Figure for this set is Khonshu from Moon Knight, and I'm just kind of like, okay, there's not even one Moon Knight character in this wave, and it's kind of weird to not have anybody in that. Could have had the Scarab, could have had the bad guy from Moon Knight. It's just kind of weird to just have that Build-A-Figure not connect to any of the figures in his wave. So really perplexing, really weird. But I thought the weirdest thing about this whole live stream was how Ryan and Dwight were going, hey, we're so happy. We're really excited about being able to complete a team, talking about the Venom symbiotes. But I'm kind of like, you guys don't need to talk about finishing teams if you're not going to actually do it. There's so many squads that need one character, just one figure that could get taken out in a wave. And yet, for some reason, they're still being delayed. We've got, Wolfsbane from X Factor Volume 2. We've got Feral from X-Force. We've got Marina from Alpha Flight. I mean, that's just 3. We've got the dude that I always mention every time I talk about teams being completed, Banshee from the Giant Size X-Men. And then there are other characters that don't need a lot of, or other teams that don't need a lot of figures, just maybe a handful, 1 or 2 to be completed. Jean Grey, X Factor, version 2. Could do Beast on that as well, because he sometimes wore a costume, wasn't just blue and furry. But if you wanted to cheat and just say Jean, she could be another one that knocks out another team. Then we've got Outback X-Men that just needs a couple of figures to get completed. There's too many squads, too many teams, new warriors that need completion. And it's kind of like this tease of the Future Foundation kind of annoyed me because it's don't start another one. Please don't start another team. Finish these ones that you started because those are the ones that are more important. Because, I mean, I've got Thunderbolts and I'm still waiting to add more members to the squad. And granted, some of them are Build-A-Figure, some of them are more complex like Meteorite and Jolt. But come on, you guys are started. Let's keep that thing rolling. Let's keep it moving and knock out teams that you started. So again, it's one of those deals where I want to be more excited about these Marvel Legends live streams and the reveals they show, but from a box set with a weirdly connected Spider-Man, an undersized Molten Man, a really kind of quickly cobbled together Silvermane, another Disney Plus wave with a $25 Howard the Duck figure and characters that kind of flesh out that animated universe, and then a couple of MCU characters. I guess that's better in terms of getting a little bit of everything on there, but I love to see a little bit more attention on the comic book front. And I thought it was classy of them not to go, hey, here's our HasLab, don't worry about that his tank. So we're going to wait on that, I guess, until maybe PulseCon and give you time to save up, which I appreciate. I think it's time for the Marvel Legends team to kind of take another approach. Instead of doing these theme waves, let's go knock out teams. Let's get villains. I was going to do an episode about villains that still need to be done. And I said, well, wait, maybe they'll show some of them on today's live stream. And not a one was mentioned or discussed. I could have recorded it and put it out today. But there's so many characters still left. And I'd love to get some of these important characters to me before they're $27 and $30 on shelves. All right, so that's it. Let me know if this live stream was exciting to you. If you were excited to see Molten Man, Silvermane, more Disney Plus characters. Or if you're kind of like me, kind of thinking, yeah, but what about all these other characters you could do too? And where are the more comic book ways? Alright, so that's it for me. Thank you as always for watching this episode of Loud's Figure Files. Has been filed.